Glad you could join me. Well, last year was pretty full on, 2019, for me. I've been smoking weed for a few years and I've known that it's sort of, it's quite debilitating just smoking itself, but also the THC has quite an effect on your biochemistry. With me being a health person, not only is there the lung problem of smoking, but there's also the effects of the THC on your appetite mechanisms. Now, most people that smoke dope have this knowledge that you get the munchies sometimes. Now, some people get the munchies quite ferociously, and some people don't really get the munchies very much. I happen to be one of those people that used to get the munchies a lot, and I still get the munchies somewhat. Certainly, I notice that it definitely affects my appetite control switches, which I depend on for my natural management, my natural mechanism of eating and not eating. So I don't write things down in a diary. I don't go by the clock. I don't do anything formalized. I just rely on my switches, my natural switches, instinct, in other words, just the same as any other animal relies on instinct when it comes to eating or not eating, sleeping and not sleeping, fasting, not fasting. Yeah. Anyway, so even though I've known for all these last 5 years, I've been smoking again for about 5 years, and I hadn't smoked for a number of years before that. It's been on and off for me over the decades, and there's been long periods of time when I haven't had a smoke or a drink of beer even. Although a little bit of alcohol doesn't really bother me. It doesn't really interfere with my consciousness, a little bit temporarily, but really not very much, not the same as the THC does. So last year I was still smoking. I'm not smoking anymore. Last year I was still smoking, and I started exploring a movie documentary. Well, I've been learning about German history, recent German history, particularly the National Socialists of Germany back in the 1930s, led by Adolf Hitler. And just like everybody else, I grew up thinking that what I was seeing on TV was real, was true, since, you just assume that that's the case. Everybody's believing the same thing. You know the drill. I'd started reading his autobiography a few years ago, or about 3 years ago. I'm still reading it. I haven't rushed through. I sort of read half a chapter here and half a chapter there. Now I've known the existence of Mein Kampf, name of his autobiography being My Struggle, Mein Kampf. I've known of the existence of the book for quite a number of years, well, 15 odd years, I suppose. But it was only relatively recently that I actually began to read it. So I downloaded a PDF file and started reading. What can I say about that except that the man was very intelligent and very courageous and very real. Tremendous insights. So I find out that Adolf is actually one of the most brilliant human beings, certainly of the last 100-odd years. Easily the best politician of the last 100-and-something years. Easily. A great leader, a true visionary. A man in whom the celestial divine government of this planet invested a great deal. Not a bad guy. Not an evil man at all. Everything that's been told about him has been complete fabrication, and if you turn it around 180 degrees, you get a more accurate picture. But even that does not convey his brilliance or his love or his courage or his leadership. Because there's very few people that you could really compare him with. And so I'm learning about Adolf. I've been learning about the Holocaust, looking into the forensics. Most of those videos have been taken down from YouTube, thanks to the great purge that happened a couple of years ago. But the videos are still available in other places on the internet, which is good because I had to go and find a few of them to share with a friend who was interested in finding out what I could tell her. So I've been watching videos about the impossibility of the Holocaust. Yes, the impossibility. The hoaxing that's gone on. And so last year, this friend who I just mentioned before, she sent me a link to a movie called Europa, The Last Battle 2017. And it's a 12-hour, 10-part, I think, documentary mainly about the National Socialists of Germany and the American government of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Delano, that's a pretty weird name. Where's that come from? I don't know. Anyway, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. You get the three names. That's often what the Freemasons do. They put their three names up, or their initials at least. So he was a Freemason, and I think he must have been a Jew as well. Oh, he was a Jew. Oh, so what? Oh, well, so what? Yeah, so what? And this documentary goes into that. Now, the other two stars of the program were Winston Churchill and Joseph Stalin. Yes, and an extremely emotionally traumatic documentary to watch. Not recommended for children. Definitely not. There's a lot of ghastly photographs and videos, footage, as it was in those days, film footage, Most adults, I would recommend, don't try to watch it by yourself even, but maybe with one or two friends. But I watched it by myself and found myself crying quite a lot for Germany. So I've got German blood in me and I've got Scottish blood. They're my two main bloodlines. I think I've got a lot of the German blood through the Norman invasion of England. Anyway, I've been moving away from my Scottish ancestry. Basically, the last 2 years, I've moved away from the Scottish ancestry and into the German ancestry. I was getting pretty fed up with the Scottish ancestry. I mean, it's just they're fucking insane. The Scots are fucking insane. That's all I can say. In fact, Celtic. There's something in the Celt that there's a madness. There's an extreme belligerence. There's a frailty of intelligence because of the coloration that goes on with that belligerence, because of the overlap of emotion that just runs out of control. The Celtic DNA or the Celtic biology has some real handicaps. There's some great strengths, but fuck, there's some bloody chronic, terrible bloody weakness as well. Tried to watch Braveheart again and couldn't because it's just so fucking insane. They just destroy themselves. They just sabotage themselves all the time. The Scots. I was watching something on Netflix too about the Frasers, famous Scottish. Elizabeth Fraser. Oh, there's stuff in England or something. There's stuff in London to do with the Frasers. Anyway, they made this Netflix series. Someone did. It's going along okay, but then it just gets so dark. I couldn't watch it anymore. I had to turn it off. Oh, fuck. So, yeah, the Scots are real fucking mad, and so are the Irish. The Gaelic Irish are fucking mad as well. That's another thing that's happened in the last number of years. A few years ago, this sort of a son of mine, he's about, he's not much younger than me, but he's like a son. That's the feeling I always had toward him, was that of a father toward a son. Don't ask me why. Maybe there's some past life stuff going on there. But anyway, he's Irish. Well, he's Irish. Blonde-haired Irish, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Irish. So he's sort of, he's got a lot of the Nordic in him, but he's got this Irish thing going on, and it's just enough fucking madness. I haven't spoken to this guy for a few years now because last time I saw him, he tried to fucking choke me to death. Well, he didn't try. He started to. Then he stopped. Good for him. I would have fucking killed him. I went in berserker. I got on the edge of going berserk. Yeah. Anyway, so there's the Celtic ancestry. She's pretty fucking crazy. He's pretty fucking crazy. I've been moving into my German ancestry, my Norman blood more, connecting with Germans people. I've always had a thing with German people. I've always had a connection. So, moving along, watching this 12-hour documentary, extremely upsetting. Crying, 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 weeping like a little kid. Which brings me to the topic of tonight. So I've called this video, what did I call it? Yeah. Feel pain fearlessly, which is something that I learned a few decades ago. I learned that I didn't have any choice at one stage in my life, a number of decades ago. I couldn't not feel pain. I had no protection. I had no barriers. I had no walls at one stage in my life. I was just a raw nerve walking down the street, and I felt everything. It freaked me out a lot. It was really fucking scary. I had a realization that I just had to completely face it all. Well, it's pretty easy to have that realization. You know, you've got people like Bruce Lee talking about it, and lots of other people talking about how, you know, face your demons and all that. It's all common knowledge, isn't it? It's not even esoteric, you know. It's even common sense. I mean, well, it is to anybody that wants it to be, I suppose you could say. Yeah, I'm a bit itchy tonight. I've been getting bitten by mozzies and whatnot. I'm a bit sweaty, and so pardon my scratching my neck and face. Feel pain fearlessly. So last year I felt all this pain very fearlessly. I went right in. I wanted to feel it. I wanted to cry. I wanted to experience it. I wanted to get to the heart of it. I wanted to feel the grief. I wanted to know. I wanted to plumb it. And I did. And because of smoking the THC, which really weakens your aura and really makes you more vulnerable and can make you a bit vulnerable to depression, extreme sadness, and feelings of hopelessness and dejection, and basically just sort of really, you know, makes you THC. It does something in your mind that lessens your ability to cope with reality as far as pain is concerned. And if you do experience the pain, it can really knock you around. And it really knocked me around last year. I'm glad it did. I'm glad I went in there. I'm glad I felt the knock. And that's where I'm coming from with this talk. Going in and feeling it and getting knocked and getting hit and basically getting smashed. Basically, it's like walking out into the middle of a football field against a whole heap of blokes that are quite a bit larger than yourself, and you know you're going to get smashed if you get hit, and you know if you're going to play football, you are going to get hit, so you know you're going to get smashed. But you go out there and you play and you get smashed. You might get carted off the ground. But anyway, you have a go. You never know if you don't have a go. And people admire it. People admire that courage, even though you might have to look through your fingers at it sometimes and wonder if the guy's going to get up again. But, people love watching a big boxing match. They love watching these crazy guys on motorbikes doing great big backflips in the air and sometimes landing very awkwardly and getting carted away in the ambulance. But, it's a spectator sport. For some reason, we love it. I guess we just love the fearlessness of it. So there's a lot to be said for fearlessness, even when it's a bit stupid. So I've been trying to give up dope, and I just haven't been able to for years. I've been trying to, and for years. See, in 1984, I had a major breakthrough. I didn't even really know what I was doing. I was just plotting a course to happiness at the time, but I ended up entering the fifth dimension consciously, the fifth density, the spiritual realm. I became a completely unified person. All sorts of abilities started happening in me. Like the rest of my brain started functioning. All sorts of stuff started switching on. Synapse, synapse, synapse. Zzz, 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 zzz. And big happy bliss. Heaven. Unbroken communion with the Universal Father. Awareness of my guardian angel. Instant repercussions if I did anything slightly wrong, stupid, unloving. If I did something even a little bit unloving, whoa, boy, did I feel it. It was heaven. But I fucked up, and I fell, and I was walking around. That's why I was walking around like a raw nerve for a few years. A raw nerve. An open heart with no protection. I became rather paranoid in a rational way. It was dangerous. Now I've wanted to, I've needed to, and been trying to find my way back there. I did actually drop back in. I entered heaven a couple more times in the following couple of years. 1985, I did once again in 1985, I think I did, and then in 1986 I entered again too. Both times I was there for less than 24 hours before I fucked up again. Now the effect of fucking up again like that so quickly twice was a complete shattering of my confidence. So for all these years, I've had this belief, sort of. I'm not sure. I never really knew whether it was a valid belief or not, but it was certainly there. A strong doubt, you could say. Funny, isn't it? What an oxymoron. A strong doubt that if I entered heaven again, that I would fall out again and I just wouldn't be able to cope. That'd be it for me. It's just like the trauma of falling again would be just too much for me, and I just maybe I just go completely mad, completely off the deep end, completely insane or something. Anyway, it's been such a traumatic thing for me, losing heaven. So regaining it, it's been a very serious affair. And for all the years since 1985 when I fell, for all these years I've really wanted somebody else to hold my hand, or at least for there to be somebody else that could meet me on the other side of the river. So that I wouldn't fall again, so that I wouldn't, somebody to catch me, somebody to support me. So I've been so fearful of falling again. It's like a baby that's fallen over one too many times, and the last time fell over, smashed face on a bloody rock sticking out of the ground and scared to walk ever again, kind of thing. Not that babies ever seem to really, we all learned to walk, didn't we? Sure, we had smashed our faces once or twice on the floorboards at least. I think I might remember doing that myself, actually. I do remember learning to walk. Anyway, with all of the trauma that I went through last year, that I put myself into, that I wanted to, that I did, guess what? It has had a cathartic effect. Now, I wasn't really using it for a cathartic effect. I was just going into experience. I was just having human experience. I was just living. You never know. You can't plan what's going to happen next when you. It's the great unknown. It's the great unknown. You can't use something to become spiritual. You can only live. We only have one life. One day is a continuation of the next day, or the day before. The next day is a continuation of the day before. There's only one life. It's not like, oh, I'm going to start living soon. No, you're alive now, and you can live now, and you can live now by exposing yourself to what you can feel. So this is what I want to talk about. Well, I've been talking about all this other stuff, history, putting things in context, telling you a little bit about my story and how I've come to experience what I'm now becoming experienced again this year. So 2019, and now we're into 2020. Now, the 2019 has been all these fires. That's had quite a cathartic effect on me as well. It's been quite shocking. It's really given me the heebie-jeebies a bit. United Nations Agenda 21, bang, here it comes. And it's not a very I'll put that somewhat a different way. It's a fucking nightmare, in case you haven't realised yet. It's a totalitarian military police state, complete with thought police and with radio chips buried in your body and being hit with radio signals if you only think the wrong thing. So it's very much George Orwell, very much Aldous Huxley. George Orwell, 1984, Aldous Huxley, Animal Farm. George Orwell, Brave New World. Did I get that right? Was that Aldous Huxley? I forget who wrote what sometimes. Well, I do. I have at the moment. Anyway, If you haven't read any of those books, go and read the whole three of them. They were written years ago about today, which was happening then. So it's been building and building and building. And here it comes. Agenda 2030. Global government. Bang. Smart cities got to be up and running. Blah, blah, blah. The vaccination program is insane. It's the only medicine that is administered where if you die from it, they don't investigate. Contraindications, they call it. It's the only drugs that are given where contraindications, meaning contrariness, is indicated, bad side effects are recorded, and they say, nah, it's a figment of your imagination, keep taking the drugs. They don't do that with any other drugs. The doctors, the medical doctors, the medics, as I just call them. No other drugs, only vaccines. So what the fuck? You should have fucking alarm bells going off so loud in your head that you cannot sleep at night with this shit going on. So, wakey, wakey. It's all happening, right? 10 years to go. 2020, 2030, bang. They'll be closing the city gates. They'll be locking people inside the cities. No, you're not allowed out. If you go out, you'd be like a criminal with one of those bracelets on, which have got a chip in them. You're tracked everywhere you go. If you go in the wrong place, you get into all sorts of trouble. Plenty of science fiction movies have been made about it. Plenty. So I won't even bother naming them. I'm sure you can name half a dozen straight off. Well, maybe you can name half a dozen. I could. So bang, 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 bang. 2019, fires, vaccines, Europa, the last battle, revelations. And then Christmas, I don't celebrate Christmas anymore. I've come along to Christmas this last Christmas we've had, and I haven't celebrated. I've stayed at home and I'm resting and I'm not eating much. And on my birthday, which is the day after Christmas, December 26th, Boxing Day, that's when everything gets put back in the boxes. All the things get boxed up, I don't know exactly what, but that's what Boxing Day is named for. Putting stuff in boxes after Christmas Day. Cutlery and whatnot, I suppose. I had a little bit of something to eat Boxing Day night. I had one mango for lunch, for Boxing Day lunch, for my birthday lunch with my son Joel. And we had a nice day on the river, paddling around in the canoe and doing some snorkeling. So I had quite a nice day. And when I came home, they were at the neighbours, and my neighbour's kind of losing the plot a bit himself. Almost every time I visit now, my neighbour Phil gets really annoyed with me, starts and kicks me out of his house. It's happened several times in a row, about 4 times in a row now. Anyway, it happened again on my Boxing Day on my birthday, where I was over there visiting. So I live here by myself next door, so I like to be able to, pop over and say good day and have a bit of party, have a few bongs and have a few beers and carry on like a bit of a yahoo, innocently, harmlessly, fun. Anyway, didn't, excuse me one moment, just got to plug my battery in. Fuck. Right, back. Fuck's going on with this computer? Good. Keep it out of the fucking way. Computers don't go fucking mental sometimes. Sorry about that, but that's life, isn't it? Shit goes wrong just when you want it to go right sometimes, or just when you're doing something. So I'm going to leave this in for that reason. The unexpectedness of living. Yeah, so it was unexpected on my boxing night. So I came home and anyway, I had some crackers and peanut butter or something, like 4 or 5. Not much to eat. That's what I had for my birthday. And the next morning I slept in and didn't do anything. And it ended up turning into a 14-day fast. 8 days with absolutely no food for the first 8 days, just some water. And then every second day I had a mango or two. And I'm glad I did. That was a wise move. I felt that one out and felt that I needed some extra energy to the fruit sugars to boost my cleansing, to boost my mechanism, to give a little bit more energy. Not a lot had happened in the first 8 days. On day 11, I started kicking aluminium out of my body. I tasted in my mouth, metallic aluminium taste. It's like it's like licking the side of an aluminium saucepan. Of course, I've done that, yes, just to see what it tasted like. I grew up eating out of aluminium saucepans. Mum had aluminium saucepans, and yeah, they were scrubbed clean every night after the bloody dinner. God, how much aluminium there must be in our bodies. Anyway, I got a fair bit out. And I'm sure the fruit sugars helped me to do that. Definitely when I had some mango on day 9, next day I was feeling more sick. I was feeling rather sick. And on day 11, by day 11, the aluminium started coming out. I had some more mango on day 10. Not much, like 1 or 2 mangoes is all. It just kept going and going and going. I didn't have to go working or anything. I ended up, I had to work on day 15, so I ate on day 14. The night before day 15, I had a bit more fruit. I had a decent fruit meal and figured that I was going to need it for the next day. And the next day I felt pretty good. I had the energy that I needed to go to work, and I've continued eating since then. Now, it was a full-on fast. It shifted stuff in me. It really, the fast wasn't so much about physicality. It was more about my psychological state. It was more about stress and anxiety and just not really feeling very relaxed and thinking a lot. I had been doing a lot of thinking in 2019 and probably 2018 and 2017 as well. I've been thinking a lot. I've been doing a lot of study. I've been having a lot of revelations as well, but I've been doing a lot of thinking, been doing a lot of strenuous thinking. Now, the interesting thing about when you're on a fast and you lose your energy after a number of days, you lose most of your energy, you use up all of your sugar. You don't have much energy left, not much energy to think with, not much muscle energy either to sort of do anything much with. I mean, you wouldn't go for a run down the road. You wouldn't start doing push-ups or anything, you know. And with this shortage of energy, one becomes very conservative of energy. So I'm conserving my energy and conserving my brain energy, which means that basically very, very strong motivation, if you like to call it that, to stop thinking. You sort of don't have much energy to think, but you can still stress, you know, you can still go on thinking. You can go on thinking until you use up probably until you died from lack of energy, actually. You could probably keep thinking until you died from lack of energy. You probably could. But being so low on energy, it really makes it easier to focus on conserving energy. And conserving energy is an extremely important thing to do. Every animal that has ever survived for millions of years on the face of this planet has learned how to conserve energy, and in fact has only survived through conserving energy. So a sane human being, a big part of sanity is conserving your energy. Not thinking when you don't need to think. Not talking when you don't need to talk. Not being a do-gooder because, you know, basically you just can't be bothered, which is a good thing, really, because if it's that important, you'll find the energy. And if it's not that important, it doesn't mean that much to you and you can't be bothered. And that's a good consciousness to have. So that's what my fast was mainly about. Pulling in my energy, detoxing my body, resting my mind. And I had a good rest, really good rest. And it really was very powerful. Now, a couple of weeks ago, so that went on for 2 weeks up until January 10th. So 2 weeks ago, which is another 14 days. Today's the 24th, yeah. Two weeks ago, roundabout. Maybe a little less. Yeah, just a little less than bit over a week ago. I spent the afternoon talking to this fella that I know a little bit. I gave him a free massage. He's got an injury, and I gave him a bit of a free massage. I'd done a job for him some time earlier, and I told him, you know, we'd agreed that, you know, I'd come around and give him a bit of a massage, and I want to talk to him about hopefully I'd be able to help him out with some ice wave patches, which is a business for me, but It's a legitimate business. He's in a lot of pain, and he's done a muscle in his shoulder, and he's in a lot of pain, having trouble working, and I know how well the ice waves work, so I went around, and he's quite a talker, and I'm quite a listener, but I probably over listened a bit and stressed myself a bit, but didn't overdo it really too much. Left before I got late. Started driving home, and bought myself a couple of ciders to have on the way home. I'd had one cider, so yeah, I had some alcohol. But heading home, it's dark. Got my headlights on, and I've been focusing on keeping my mind clear and not stressing and not having any anxiety. So I'm doing that again. I found, so I had a little bit of anxiety. I was a bit stressed from sitting down and sort of listening a little bit too much to this nice bloke. He's a lovely fella. Listening to, but chewing the fat, as we call it here in Australia. Just basically talking about nothing much in particular. Places you've been, adventures that you've had, sort of thing. Chewing the fat. I was a little bit stressed, so I started de-stressing myself on the way home, opening my eyes and being still in my mind and elevating my heart and talking to Dad and Mum, Papa and Mama, divine parents. Basically just being up. So I'm being up, I'm clearing away my stress and relaxing my brain and breathing. And as I started doing that, I started feeling pain in my heart. Quite a lot of pain. Now I felt this sort of pain quite a bit over the years when I've meditated. Well, I'm feeling it quite intensely. Driving along in the car, I didn't crack another cider. I'd finished one, little stubby, and so I'm meditating, and the pain in my chest. It's like it's really quite severe pain. It's like, oh shit. Some people might think, oh shit, I'm going to have a heart attack. That sort of a thing. I wasn't having any irregularity beats though. It was just pain. So I just held in there as I always have done. And the pain passed. After 15 minutes, around about, pain went away. And I felt good. I had a breakthrough. I've had a breakthrough. So around about 12 days or 11 days ago, driving home with one stubby of cider under my belt, I've had a major spiritual breakthrough, a spiritual breakthrough that I've been endeavouring to have since 1986, I suppose, thereabouts, or 85 really, although 85 was so fucked that I sort of couldn't hope for anything. 86, let's say. Major. And I've had some wonderful meditations since then, in the last week or so, in the water. I do water meditations. They're my favourite. I lie down in water and in shallow water fresh shallow water or fresh seawater. Either is good, but I think I like the fresh shallow water of a mountain stream the best. I've had some great meditations in the last week or so, like really getting into the zone, really. And I've lost the fear. I've lost the fear of falling. I'm sitting out there tonight in my backyard. I live out in the country. There's no street lights. There's no traffic noises or anything. Just the sound of frogs and fruit bats. Tonight it was. A few insects. I'm sitting out there on my chair, listening, being, and it's gone. The fear has gone. So all the catharsis that happened in 2019 with the fires and with learning about Germany and the weeping, the crying, the grief, the trauma, all that I exposed myself to feel, I've been able to give up the dope. I've had this 14-day fast, which is the longest fast that I've ever been on. And I've had this spiritual breakthrough. Like in my heart, something has been opened. And I've freed, and I've had a healing of my actual heart chakra. Now, heart chakra, is physical as well. There's a thymus gland in there. So, thymus gland. And this afternoon, I'm doing my water meditation. And I'm sitting in the river and lying in the river, and I can feel blood flowing through my thymus, and my heart sort of beating. Oh yeah, that's life. That's life energy pumping through my heart chakra, healing the chakra, healing the body, healing the organs of the body, healing the endocrine system. So how's that? I'm feeling good, and I know now I'm not scared anymore. I'm not afraid of falling. I don't need somebody to be there to catch me now. So I'm telling you this story as a means of encouragement to jump into the pain, let it happen, let it hit you, expose yourself to it, be in it, be in your life, be in the pain of your life, be in the scariness of your life. Have the cathartic reaction. It's what'll break whatever's got a hold on you, as it broke it in me. All the best. Love from me. I'm Simon I Breath Art, signing off with yet another video. This is probably the longest one I've ever done. Find the button. Well, stop the bloody thing.